The village of Odiama in Bayelsa State sat between water and silence. By day, it breathed like any other riverine community. Canoes slicing through muddy creeks, fishermen hauling in nets heavy with promise or disappointment, women trading smoked fish under raffia sheds. But by night, Odiama changed. The oil lamps flickered like secrets, and the wind carried whispers no one dared to repeat in daylight. At the center of it all stood the Okosi compound. High walls, armed guards, imported tiles that looked out of place against red earth and palm trees. Chief Tamuno Okosi was not born powerful, he built it. Land deals, oil contracts, quiet partnerships with men who didn't like their names written down. Now, he owned most of the land stretching from the riverbank to the edge of the mangroves. And he had two sons, Julian and Elias. Julian walked like he owned not just the land, but the air above it. Tall, sharp-featured, always in pressed linen shirts, even in the heat, he had inherited their father's confidence and none of his patience. People smiled when they saw him, but their smiles were careful, calculated. Elias was different. Same height, same blood, but quieter. He moved through the compound like a shadow that understood every corner. While Julian spoke, Elias listened. While Julian demanded, Elias solved. If something needed fixing, a land dispute, a stubborn tenant, a quiet threat, it was Elias who handled it. And then there was Clara. Clara Ebi was not supposed to be part of their world. She came from the other side, the rival family. Her father, Chief Ebie, had been fighting the Okosis for years over land rights near the river. Court cases, political tension, rumors of sabotage. Clara worked in her father's office, managing documents, contracts, negotiations. She was educated, sharp, and carried herself with a calm confidence that made men underestimate her. Once, Julian noticed her first. At a meeting between the two families, meant to settle a long-standing dispute, he saw her standing behind her father. No makeup, simple wrapper and blouse, but her eyes, steady, unafraid. He decided in that moment that she would be his. Not because he loved her, because she didn't look impressed. The proposal came weeks later. A marriage, an alliance. Two families ending years of rivalry with a union that would consolidate land, power, and influence. Chief Tamuno approved immediately. Chief Ebie hesitated. But pressure came from every direction. Politicians, investors, even elders in the village. Clara said nothing until she met Elias. It started quietly. A chance meeting near the back of the compound during a negotiation visit. She had stepped out for air, frustrated, overwhelmed. Elias was already there, sitting on a low wall, staring at the mangroves. "You look like you want to disappear," he said without turning. Clara almost walked away, but something in his tone, not mocking, not curious, just understanding, made her stay. "And you look like you already have," she replied. That was the beginning. Their conversations became a secret rhythm, short, hidden, honest. Elias didn't try to impress her. He didn't talk about power or land or legacy. He spoke about the things he saw, the cracks in the system, the way people suffered quietly while men like his father made deals. Clara listened, and for the first time in months, she felt seen, not as a bargaining chip, not as a daughter of a rival, but as herself. It didn't take long. What they felt wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was dangerous. Julian found out, not through evidence, through instinct. He noticed the way Clara's eyes shifted when Elias entered a room, the way Elias avoided looking at him when her name came up. Julian didn't confront them immediately. He watched, and the more he watched, the colder he became. The hunting trip was his idea. A chance for us to bond, Julian said, smiling over dinner. Chief Tamuno approved. Good. It's time you both learn to stand as one. Elias knew better, but he agreed. The forest outside Odiama was dense, wet, alive with sounds that made outsiders uneasy. They set up camp near a clearing, 2 tents, a fire, a cooler filled with drinks. At first, it felt normal. Julian laughed, told stories, drank heavily. He even clapped Elias on the back like old times. But as the night deepened, the mask slipped. You know what's funny, Julian said, staring into the fire. Elias didn't respond. Everyone thinks this marriage is about peace, unity, ending the rivalry. He took a slow sip of his drink. But me, he continued, smiling slightly, I just like winning. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. Winning what? He asked quietly. Julian turned to him. Everything. He leaned closer. The land, the contracts, the respect. A pause. And Clara. Elias stood up. Leave her out of this. Julian laughed. No, that's the best part. He stood too, unsteady but sharp-eyed. She doesn't love me. I know that. He shrugged. But she'll marry me anyway. Elias's voice hardened. You don't have to do this. Julian stepped closer. Oh, but I do. He lowered his voice. Do you know what it feels like to take something someone else wants and keep it? Not because you need it, but because you can. Elias didn't move. Julian smiled wider. I'll keep her. I'll watch her hate me every day, and there's nothing you can do about it. Silence stretched between them. The forest seemed to hold its breath. You're sick, Elias said finally. Julian's smile vanished. And you're weak. The words hit harder than any blow. You think you're better than me because you hide in the shadows? Julian continued. Because you fix things quietly? He stepped even closer. You're nothing without me, without this family. Elias's hands clenched. You don't deserve her. Julian laughed again, but there was no humor in it. Deserve? He shook his head. This isn't about deserving, brother. His voice dropped to a whisper. It's about power. What happened next felt inevitable. Julian turned away, reaching for his drink, and in that moment, Elias snapped. It wasn't rage, not entirely. It was something colder, years of silence, of being overlooked, of cleaning up messes no one acknowledged. And now this. Clara's future reduced to a game. Elias moved quickly, a hand on Julian's shoulder, a sharp pull, a struggle, brief, violent. Julian didn't even have time to fully react before Elias drove the knife into him. Once, twice. Julian staggered back, eyes wide with disbelief. You, he choked. Elias stood there, breathing hard. Julian collapsed, the firelight flickering across his still face. The forest exhaled. For a long time, Elias didn't move. He stared at his brother's body, at what have done. Then, he started thinking. By morning, the story was already forming. Tracks leading away from the camp, deliberately made. A missing item planted near Julian's body, something tied to the rival family. A narrative, an attack, revenge. When Elias returned to the village, he was shaken but controlled. They ambushed us, he said. They knew where we were. The reaction was immediate. Outrage, anger, calls for retaliation. Chief Tamuno was furious, but grief-stricken. And the blame fell exactly where Elias intended. The Ebie family denied everything. Clara was caught in the middle, confused, terrified. Days later, economic chest. With Julian gone, Elias became the heir. Unexpected, unquestioned. The routine's proposal declining. But next, it with excuses. Clara agreed to meet him. 1 words about they. Stood by the river. The secret where they had once spoken freely. Now the air's full with proper. With attacked you, Clara said quietly. Elias nodded. She studied his face. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, did you kill him? The question hung between them, sharp, unavoidable. Elias didn't answer immediately, and that was enough. Clara took a step back. Her eyes changed. Not anger, not even hatred. Something worse. Fear. Elias felt it like a knife to the chest. Clara, she shook her head. I thought, she whispered. Her voice broke. I thought you were different. Elias took a step forward. I did it for us. The words sounded hollow the moment they left his mouth. Clara's expression hardened. No, she said softly. You did it because you could. Silence fell again. In that moment, Elias understood something Julian never had. Power could give you everything. Land, respect, control. But it could not give you love. Clara turned and walked away, not running, not looking back. And Elias stood there, alone, with the weight of everything he had gained and everything he had lost.